Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Was it restful? It would have been if you weren't conducting a supplementary election. In that case, maybe restful wouldn't have been the word. Maybe active might have been the word. But we have the results out now. It is looking something in the nature concerning the three states we're dealing with. It is looking something in the nature of 2-3 or 3-2, depending on which name you put first. Put APC first, then you're looking at 2-3, talking about Kano Plateau. That's been taken at the polls. And you're talking about Sokoto, Benue, and Bauchi, if you're looking at PDP. That happened all over the weekend. Yeah, there still are complaints, as always. I'm not too happy about it. We didn't agree. We don't agree. So there's all of that going on. It trails just about every election. But the thing I thought you might be really wanting to get in on was news that happened after we had gone away on Friday. And as you know, we don't do Saturday. And we're talking about the situation over in the state of Osun, where it has been decided by a court that the PDP candidate, Mr. Deleke, is actually the winner. There is, of course, as you know, an incumbent governor in the place. So that's why this late announcement has come. But I wouldn't be surprised if the way we go about these kind of things, that is when I say we, I really mean the system, the law. As soon as that was announced, I imagine it would have, created a reaction. As soon as that action hit, a reaction would have hit, and the reaction would have been an appeal, maybe automatic, maybe almost immediate. And so it was good to find out exactly what to make of this. Now, I've got two lawyers in front of me, actually. First of all, can we meet you, sir?
Tomiloba Olagunju. I'm a legal practitioner.
Mr. Olagunju, thank you very, very much.
Thanks for having me.
On.
Thank you.
And we'd like to meet you, too.
Olayinka Oladaniels.
Well, that's the style going on today.
Legal practitioner.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming around.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you guys have seen it all. Let me start with you. If I could. We see these cases. We're talking about politics now, but all sorts of cases. Come across your purview. Give me your reaction. Oh, by the way, talking a bit more about the judgment of the Election Tribunal. Well, there was a dissenting judgment. It was not unanimous. The dissenting judgment of Justice Mohammed Ibrahim Sirajo, who was the chairman, by the way, but that's not the way it works. It works by numbers. And so two judges saw it differently, but the chairman, Justice Mohammed Ibrahim Sirajo, saw it differently. You have studied the dissenting judgment, which is going to be very valuable to our conversation this morning. What is the main part of departure between the dissenting judgment and the judgment that was given?
Thank you very much. Like you said, the judgment was not unanimous. The member one and member two were of the opinion that they based their decision on two major planks. The first is that they established that there was substantial non-compliance in 17 polling units, and that the officer of INEC who cancelled 7 polling units which led to the rerun was incapable of so doing. Therefore, the inconclusive declaration was invalid in law. The chairman, on the other hand, said, what is this non-compliance that the petitioner has alleged? The petitioner alleged that on the score sheet, that is from EC8A, given in some polling units, 23 of them, he led evidence in 23 of them, that the scores were recorded correctly, but that the accounting of accreditation and ballot boxes was not done at the polling unit. Therefore, that amounted to irregularity. The chairman said, in his view, election is a process. You start with accreditation, you go on with voting, you then come to sorting, then counting, then recording the scores. and that all the witnesses who came before the tribunal agreed that accreditation was properly done. All the witnesses agreed that voting was peacefully done. They agreed that sorting was fine. They in fact associated themselves with the scores of the political parties. The chairman then wondered that if you say the scores are not manipulated, votes were not deflated, they were not inflated, the scores of the parties are in those allegedly altered results are as they were seen at the polling unit, what then will be the basis to nullify that kind of election? The chairman went on to say that election being a process, he scored the election in those 17 polling units 90%. And that if something scores 90%, you don't bother yourself. Particularly when you check some relevant provisions of the Electoral, which says that it will not be enough for a petitioner to allege that the elections were non-compliant with the Act. They must allege that and prove, that the elections were not compliant, that the non-compliance with the Electoral Act substantially affected the results. And now, if the witnesses who have come to testify say, yes, there was non-compliance, but our result is as shown on the two documents, the one allegedly altered and the one we have, what is my business in validating that kind of result? So in my view, if you ask me, I associate myself more with the dissenting judgment. Okay. I think the majority judgment was perverse.
Oh, okay. But as it happens, there were only 3 men on that panel. If you had happened to be on that panel, it then would have been 2-2. But, Mr. Ladaniel, how do you, first of all, give me your opinion. You know the result. You've heard the dissenting judgment. You already knew the dissenting judgment. You also know how they arrived at that conclusion. What's your impression? Because this is going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, if need be. I believe that the governor has sort of hinted.
Well, I'll start by aligning myself with the submission of my learned brother, because I'll tend towards the same route. It was glaring, it was clear. When the petitioner came, even all the 3 judges agreed, unanimously held that the petitioner could not prove his case. Now,
well, one has to be careful here, because while you might be doing legal talk, that when you say that the petitioner could not prove his position.
You see, because that was the reason why, don't forget, that was the reason why the second and the third respondent said in that case, they said, they mentioned to the court, come, you're not proven anything here. Okay, all the 68 witnesses brought in, to this court, said the same thing. All the elections, everything went well. They said this sign. Now, then they raised the issue of the pink form given to the agent, that the number on it was different from the number of the forms. That's the CTC, was the name of the form now, that was signed initially. That the pink number, the one was altered, meaning the one given to the agent was not altered, but the one given to the INEC, that's the presiding officer, was altered. Now the question we ask, and that they asked all the witnesses, was there anything wrong during the election? Where was there accreditation? They said yes. Voters voting went right.
All
the processes went right.
Satisfied.
Now we're talking about the 7 polling units, or the 17 polling units initially cancelled, then the 7, the rerun, and see, Section 151 of the Electoral Act did not invalidate the guidelines of INEC and could not stop INEC from using their guidelines. See, this is simple. Like I said, there are procedures which were followed. So where did INEC err? So now if...
And now that I'm just reminded as we are speaking that INEC itself has appealed this particular position, right?
Yeah.
So INEC can appeal.
INEC can appeal.
And
the respondent can appeal.
So
you know,
it's not just the respondent, even INEC.
Oh, yes.
Both of them
so,
are on appeal.
Well, we
So we have a matter
like
of the chairman, INEC, and the respondent not agreeing.
Like I said,
that's what we have.
Yeah, like
although, as the law works,
works.
it was still handed down that this is the decision.
It's just funny, the way we relate with things when there are decisions of the court. People don't really know the technicalities and they don't know what actually.
Yes.
Once they hear, yes,
and rightly so.
Judgment, and people go jubilating.
Rightly
because
so.
I say this.
It's a matter of time.
Yes.
In this time frame,
yes,
the court has handed it down.
Yes,
The PDP guy is the winner in this time frame.
And I spot a dangerous possibility in that judgment. Let me paint a scenario. After elections, a winner is declared. Then INEC goes back and some unscrupulous officials tamper with the original in the custody of INEC. And then the loser goes to the tribunal. And then says that what is in INEC is different from what I was given. Without considering this cause, whether it was tampered with or not, the tribunal proceeds to invalidate the results. What we may have unwittingly introduced into our electoral jurisprudence is another system of secondary rigging. In essence, what do I mean by this?
Well, yeah, I get you. I get you.
Honestly.
But that would be a total, that would be messing the system up, which is not expected
That is
of
why
any
the Electoral Act says that you don't prove...
INEC staff.
The Electoral Act says that for non-compliance with the Electoral Act, or when you are alleging any irregularity, when you are alleging any fault in the electoral process, it is not enough to allege or prove that fault. You must go a step further to say, for this fraud,
Yes.
the result would not have been this.
Yes.
In this situation, all they said was that the top right-hand corner of Form EC8A was not filled at the polling unit.
Okay.
It was subsequently done. Now, the defense of the respondents was simple. That is INEC's business. The votes scored by each, and don't forget, in fact, the governor who was sworn in, Governor Oyetola, to me, is being made a scapegoat. Some of these polling units where elections were cancelled, he did not even win in those polling units. For example, in polling unit 8 in Ward 6 in Iwo, it was the ADP that won. It was the ADP that won. In essence, you could not have accused him of rigging in that polling unit. But because his major contender came a distant third, invalidating the votes of that polling unit will put the petition at an advantage. Therefore, in my view, on that point, the law is crystal clear.
Okay. But just to return to the point you made, that the potential danger that
There's
hasn't
a potential
happened yet.
danger.
I can see it, but except for that other issue that, look, you don't expect anybody in INEC, just like you don't expect anybody in WAEC, for example, to adjust stuff that they have. It's almost inconceivable that an INEC staff, a WAEC staff would do that. So maybe, if you like, I'm being a bit simplistic here. I wonder if we couldn't almost rule that out. But for having a crazy, which would just be
if not because
you just
there
made the
could be
theoretical point.
No, if not because there could be these issues, we won't have tribunals. All of us will just wait for INEC to declare, and then we'll be fine. It is because the possibility for these things exists.
Because your scenario painted up
because
an enemy within. That is, as far as INEC is concerned, which I think INEC probably has to do its best to guard itself against.
What the majority decision just said was that a certified true copy must be the same copy with all these parties. If there is any change to it, it is invalid. Simply put, INEC or any unscrupulous officer of INEC can say there are 10 political parties that are contested. He adds the 11th political party. That's all. And then you bring it before, you just take a certified true copy of that, bring it before the tribunal, they nullify that unit.
Well, okay. That is if the judges are agreeable. And because since the judges themselves also consider this thing, they also know when somebody is trying to be too clever by half. I'm imagining.
That is the booby trap.
Imagining.
That is the booby
That's
trap.
That's why you can't do it by computer.
Of that majority decision.
Okay.
And the judge, in fact, the chairman of the tribunal said,
okay,
human beings can commit errors. That's why we are not computer. We may not be exact.
All right.
But if a process goes through all these processes that I've talked about and arrives at a decision which all of you at the polling unit concord to, and the votes are still intact as they were, why do I have to invalidate?
Okay. Good morning, Mr. George, and thank you for holding on.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the lawyers in front of you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Uncle Yori, truth. What you are seeing in that judgment is what I call a Dubai judgment. That is the strategy that Adiko and his group planned to do to the 2019 election. We all know this. How can a tribunal on its own cancel elections in 17 polling units and at the same time declare that the umpire has no right to cancel elections in 7 polling units? Even in his child who has never been to school, we know that there is no logic in presentation. What they are trying to, the point they are trying to make, Uncle Yori, because I heard that, I read that the judge, the other 2 judges that made the majority decision, they were saying that there is no place for supplementary elections in the Electoral Act. That is not true. The guidelines of INEC says that if an election holds and votes are cancelled in some areas, and the total number of votes that are cancelled is more than what the winner used in leading, then there has to be a repeat election in such places. And that is what is called supplementary elections. How can a judge now turn and say that there is nothing like that when the electoral rule says so? Whatever they try to do in Osun, the statement they are trying to make, Uncle Yori, is that all these other states where supplementary elections took place, they want that same principle to be applied to nullify the elections. And it will not work. I can tell you it will not work. Okay. The Judiciary has now turned itself to become like the Interactive National Assembly to this government. And the government of President Buhari must not allow it. If he does, we the people will not.
All right, then. Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Mr. Mr. Ola Daniel, would you got any comment there? Or?
Well, he said it all. Because, one,
although I don't know, he was a bit dismissive about the Dubai judgment bit. I cringed a bit at that. Mr. George, Mr. George's refinement is unquestionable, but now and again,
yeah,
and it's coming from the passion of this thing,
I think in a recent Court of
Appeal judgment, it was
judgment,
incomprehensible to him, very much as it was first of all said by Mr. Laguji.
In a recent Court of Appeal judgment, it was also affirmed. The court affirmed that no reason that the court itself cannot alter Section 151 of the Electoral Act as amended. You see, you can't stop INEC. You can't stop INEC from using their guidelines. So you can't question INEC's responsibility as to the way they go about the guidelines governing this entire election. No, you can't. So, and that is what the 2 judges actually did.
Okay, one moment, please. Bamidele in Abuja, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Okay. Please, I just want my only 2 little contribution because of the judgment of Osun State governorship election. Let's just take a case study from what happened in FCT. Let me say Buhari local government recently, whereby a rerun was performed on the 9th of March this last year. Now, based on that analysis, the PDP was declared a winner. Just imagine the number of votes that was between the 2 parties, and a rerun was made, and the PDP candidate was declared a winner. No, in fact, somebody will now go back to court and tell that this kind of a thing cannot be. I believe that people should start be a good. Let me just put it in this way: that at least when you lose in a good way. You see, I can't. Okay, just imagine what happened in Kano yesterday. I was in Kano. I witnessed everything. The celebration in Sokoto, I witnessed everything. The fact remains that We just have to accept the fact that the electoral process that many people are more enlightened. They are not talking about party. They are talking about your credibility, your ability, what you are doing.
Okay.
So,
You've gone from what we're talking about to the by-elections conducted, right?
no, I just wanted to know that the people of Osun have spoken, and it is now left for the tribunal to take to react to the decision of the people.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's very much in tandem with what Governor Oyetola has already said. That look, he has the mandate of the people, and he was promising the people. Not that he's a lawyer or anything, but he was promising the people he was speaking to that your mandate is intact and safe. And I think he went as far as saying that, don't worry, you guys gave me 4 years. We shall be together in these 4 years. Now, people can talk, but it's going to depend on the courts. And we have the system. This is the first stage. This is the first stage.
Yes.
And the result of the first stage has triggered almost automatically the appeal. Yes. And Governor Oyetola did say that if need be, the Supreme Court is there. But that he was actually, I think he said that he was, what is the word now? That, you know, he wouldn't be surprised if the whole thing wasn't sorted out at the Appellate Court. Yakub has called in. Good morning, Yakub.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
And good morning to your guest.
Yes.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Yeah,
sir.
Shijori, to some people, the judgment of a tribunal in our state, to some people, the democracy is working. The judiciary is the hope of the common man. Are you getting it, sir? But I believe those people that say that democracy is working, and then the judiciary is the hope of common man now. By the time the Court of Appeal or Supreme Court says something else, I will hope they will say the same thing. Why am I saying that? Let me give you a typical example. If you say that INEC does not have power of supplementary election, in Kaduna, this is a straight example, sir. In Kaduna, Sokoto yesterday, there were supplementary elections, and then, on Saturday, there were supplementary elections, and then the incumbent governor won by a criminal margin of 340-something votes.
Yes.
And then the cancellation, the ballot that was cancelled in that very particular election is 1,500 plus. Assuming the other party, the APC went to court tomorrow, and they say that based on this, you declare this supplementary to be held, and then you declare so person as a winner of this election. Look at the margin that between me and the first run-up. And then I heard you the call to declare this same election incompletely again. I will hold the tribunal to do so again. That is my own, because the margin between the winner of Sokoto election and the second run-up is very small. And then the ballot paper was cancelled. It's 4,000 plus. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much indeed. Nobody's going to stop saying that judiciary is the hope of the common man.
Indeed,
it is. But because Yakub was saying that by the time another level of the court sees it differently, I hope those who are dancing now and jubilating now will continue their jubilation, because it is this same court system that we are all depending on.
Yes, all of us must discipline ourselves to accept outcomes of court processes. It may not be in your favor. You may not see the way the judges have seen it. For example, I do not see the way the majority judgment has gone. I do not see it that way. But I'm not going to accuse anybody because of Dubai plan or whatever. That is the way the judges have seen it.
That's what we're going to have
what
to
we are
accept.
doing at this end is to review. That
Exactly.
is a far easier process than being in the driver's seat.
They're coming up with a
because
decision.
now they have burnt the midnight candle. They have come up with these documents.
Yes.
We have in the comfort of our houses, we can rule it and say, well, this is not correct, because we are not under the same kind of pressure the judges were put and the rest of it. But honestly, and about this rerun, I think we should get this point clearly. What the tribunal held was not that rerun generally is not legal. The point the tribunal was trying to make, which again I find very wrong, was that the officer of INEC who cancelled results in 7 units was the returning officer, not the presiding officer. and that by INEC regulations, it is the presiding officer that should cancel elections right at the polling unit. Now, the dissenting judgment again has a very, 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 very interesting position on that. It says it is only when elections hold that the results can be cancelled. If you come to me and say election was disrupted by violence, do I need anybody to cancel the results? And if you say elections held, you alleging that the elections held and they were cancelled, bring me the result. Let me see the result. No result was brought before us. So how do we say the elections were improperly cancelled? Therefore, and the Supreme Court has decided on the question of supplementary elections in the case of Faleke and the governor of Kogi State, Governor Bello. He said that is part of INEC guidelines. INEC has the right to make those guidelines as to when it is possible to declare a winner. That is when the margin between the first and second person is wide, such that the difference is more than the outstanding number of votes. If the outstanding number of votes, you must go back and conduct the elections. And to me, it is sound reasoning. Because again, if you do not allow that kind of provision to stand, we'll go back to pre-2003 situation, where what a candidate simply does is look for his strong points, protects votes there, goes to the opponent's strong point, destroys the elections there. Therefore, INEC does away with the disrupted votes and concentrates on the region where he has won, and then a winner is declared. That cannot be democracy.
And that can't happen anymore.
That can be democracy.
Okay. Mazi Okoroafo, thank you for holding on. Good morning.
Good morning, Sir Yori. Good morning, Barrister Olagunja and Barrister Daniel.
Good morning, Mazi Okoroafo.
Honestly speaking, if you watch what is happening now, you know that there is a big story in this country. The court verdict was in order. If you follow what we saw on television and social media during that election, first election, Adeleke was winning. Then when it comes to rerun election, there was another group, abracadabra. Now, this, to me, what the judge they said that was based on the first election. Because in a situation whereby you come to conduct the election, you see people fighting, you see people with equipment, they will be prevented not to go and vote now, and at the end of the day, you bring results. Who and who voted? Who and who submitted? These are the issue. Because we have come to a country like ours now, we should be talking about advancing, not at the primary stage now. When we see the truth, we should say the truth. Because what we saw, like what one caller was just saying, you saw what the reporter, the man who handles the journalist handout, what he was showing us on the Kano last weekend. It's a terrible situation which we don't want such to continue. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant day in Lagos.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mazi, for calling in. Well, we have it the way it is. Some people are angry. Some people, as we said, are dancing in jubilation. And that's the way these things go. But it's just the beginning. We're nowhere close to the end of this whole matter yet. And I suppose this is not news. Even the victors, at this stage must be aware that there still are other hurdles that must be negotiated. And right up to the Supreme Court. But it's interesting that it was not a unanimous decision. That's why we're having this kind of a conversation. Well, it's just that there's order, so things must go in a certain way. But I suppose when it comes to the numbers, all the numbers are equal, 1, 2, and 3. And so it was 2 over 3. But psychologically, the chairman of the place didn't see it. But as I said, the value is still the same. Good morning, Mr. Adebayo. He's in Songo. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, good morning to your guests in the studio.
Good morning, Mr.
Yeah, I've been following you guys since morning, but I want to ask lawyer Olagunju this simple question. Yeah.
What's the question? Hello, what's the question?
Yeah. Yes, I want to ask him what he was making a complaint that the result to the agent and the one with the IMEC. So I want to know, are they the same result of the one with the agent and the IMEC, or there are different results on it?
Do you understand the question?
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in.
In fact, that question was answered by the judge that gave the dissenting judgment. If I may read from page 10 of his judgment, he said, all these witnesses said they have no problem with the votes scored by the candidates, that their only problem is that the first respondent did not fill the columns for accreditation and ballot accounting in the form EC8A given to them at the polling stations. In essence, the elections held, scores were recorded. There is a column for accounting for ballot papers and the rest of it. It was not filled at the polling units. Okay. Therefore, what the petitioners simply did was to obtain the certified copy from INEC, which now contained the entries for number of this, number of that, and compared it with their own and they said to the tribunal, look, there's a difference. Because this one does not have this column. This one has this column. Now, what the respondents simply said was that, okay, we agree that these ones that you have alleged, maybe. The scores of the parties,
there's no disparity.
Did you score more than what was allocated to you? Or did you score less? Did I score more than what was recorded for me? Or did I score less? The scores are identical. That's what the presiding judge that look, these things are the same. So if they are the same, there cannot be, it cannot be said that the allegations of infractions against the law have been proved. However, the learned chairman of the tribunal went ahead. He said, let's assume that it is actually irregularities. It is not substantial.
Oh, okay. Lucky in Jos, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my friend.
Thank you for calling in.
Permit me to say good morning to your guest.
Good morning. Thank you.
And their little education they're doing to us.
And a little what?
And I told you, Mr. Lucky from the group.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Precisely, I want to just ask some questions that are very touching to most of us that are listening to this program in terms of this Osun election that was nullified. Now, considering the incident that took place during the election, before the re-election, the PDP was leading. Then after they went to the re-election, there was a report of intimidation by some agents against some voters. I don't know if the audience know about that. That there was intimidation during the election, that is one. There was a report about what was called about vote buying by some party, mostly the APC. And coupled with all these things, are these not processes that are illegal in the electoral process? I think that is what I will ask your audience to put their answer across to the listeners in this topic.
Thank you
because
very
much.
much.
Have to be considered before we can come to conclusion of the decision of the tribunal. Thank you very much, please.
Indeed, we thank you, Lucky, calling in from Jos. I imagine that not even one aspect of all these allegations will be ignored by the system, by the process. And if whoever is not clear on them, I imagine by the time we come to the appellate level, it will become even clearer than it is.
No, but before that, the tribunal actually considered those allegations and found them not proved. The tribunal considered the allegations of overvoting, of violence, of inducement, and said they were not proved.
Exactly.
So the tribunal, even there was most of the decisions of the tribunal, except when you get to the conclusion, were unanimous. All the members of the tribunal agreed that allegations of overvoting, of thuggery, ballot snatching were not proved by the petitioner.
And so, as you know,
so the decision of the majority decision centered around the 17 units that were cancelled based on this alleged alteration and the person who allegedly nullified the results of the 7 units where elections allegedly did not take place.
Now, so oftentimes we hear that the courts are not Father Christmas, and it can only be what is before the court that will be considered. You were making the point just now, Mr. Laguji was making the point that actually there's no disparity between the judgments until the conclusion. So even these allegations have been considered. Now, as I was thinking, the fact that this has been appealed, does it mean that they will be considered again, or because they did not form any part of the dissension, it won't come up again? I don't know. it won't come up again, or will it still?
You see,
Because
court-
Mr. Lucky in Jos, it's
Yes.
important to him.
Yes.
So
You
I
see,
imagine he would like to see that
why,
aired.
the first question
if
is,
the rules allow.
why do people go to appeal? Why do they go to appeal court? Because they are not satisfied with the judgment of either the lower court. That's
No,
the
but in relation to what they can consider, okay, will they just start from ground zero, or they will base themselves on the work that has been done up to now? They won't be introducing extraneous affairs.
Like he said, which I'm confirming also, like up to the last decision, all the judges agree that most of these allegations were not proved by the petitioner, which, I said earlier. That is clear. So they are not coming to Court of Appeal to now start wasting time on what,
Okay.
they all agreed on that were not issues at all. You understand?
Okay.
So
okay. I just wanted to sort of
issue
air
is-
the issue of Mr. Lucky.
Yes.
Those ones have not been problematic. He said he just wanted to bring them out, and you said that actually they were considered in the last
It could be
exercise.
addressed on appeal.
It's possible.
What is addressed on appeal is based on the notice of appeal.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is what delimits the issues that will go on appeal. And it is the ratio of the court, that is the basis for the decision of the court, that you take upstairs for consideration.
Okay then. Majid in Ado Ekiti, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I want to commend the two gentlemen there, especially Barrister Tomi Olagunbi is doing a good job.
Because he's holding the written, the written dissenting judgment. So
Yes,
he's quoting
no, yes,
obviously
you
from
see,
it. Yeah, you're
yes.
right. Thank you.
You see, I monitored the Osun election, and I also monitored Ekiti and some other elections. You see, Yori, and to all the listeners, it's when people win a court case that they see the judiciary as the defender, the common man.
The hope of the common man.
Yes. Now, if something else happens at the appellate court now, which of course I know Itola is heading to, then the judiciary has been compromised. The judiciary is almost so. You see, it's always like that. But I think I expect that the judiciary will do justice to the matter on ground, and elections held in Osun, but then it's left for the judiciary to decide what actually happened. And I believe Oyetola will go ahead up to the appeal court and also the Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, turning to the point that Majid made, because Governor Oyetola is very much on ground. I don't know. It's not the power of incumbency. He's there. It's not as if it's a vacant seat. If it had been, the other guy would have moved in because we can't allow a vacuum. But here, the way it is that we will have to be patient and let it run its course, let it go right up. All this time, Governor Oyetola is going to be on seat,
Yes, yes.
right?
That's section 143 of the Electoral Act. It says that when you find and you make an order nullifying the election of somebody who has already been sworn in, you give him the window of 21 days to appeal. If he appeals immediately, it will not be requested to vacate his seat until the determination of that appeal.
Okay, if he appeals immediately.
No, he doesn't have to appeal immediately.
Okay.
But in this case, the governor has appealed immediately. The governor has appealed immediately.
He has
But
21 days.
He has 21 days within which to make that decision. But he has done it immediately. And then he has 60 days to prosecute that appeal. If the appeal, whichever way it goes, there's another 60 days to prosecute the secondary appeal up to which is to the Supreme Court. So, as it is, I'm in fact very happy that some points will for the first time go before the Supreme Court. One of those points is the point of this amalgamation of two grounds of challenging an election petition. That is, if you challenge an election petition on the ground, because challenging an election petition is not at large, it is circumscribed within specific grounds. If you challenge an election petition on the ground that I was the person that scored the highest number of lawful votes, in Ogboru and Oduagan, what the Court of Appeal said in that matter is that is a separate ground. What you are complaining of is actually collation. But what we have had in most cases is an amalgam of that ground with elections were marked by substantial irregularity. Merging the two and then say void some votes, then the other ones will be declared valid and now will become the winner. Honestly, I suspect very, very, very seriously that this matter, that fine point will be decided by the Supreme Court in this case.
Okay, Comrade Dayo in Comrade Ayo, I beg your pardon, in Oshun. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Yali.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
And good morning to my brothers,
good morning.
And good morning to the other guests in the studio, too.
Good morning.
You see, Yali, you know, why I love democracy is that democracy being the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And it has made rooms for people to hear their grievances. And in this case, those who are developing, I don't think they really understand the law perfectly. If they understand the law, they will know that there are 2 steps in this matter. If there is court of appeal and there is Supreme Court. So you just want a single process out of 3 and decided jubilating. I don't see anybody coming out to jubilate. I haven't said that. The tribunal in wisdom failed to do something. You said you are cancelling election because the votes are not written on Form EPA the way it ought to be done. Out of our 6 processes at the polling unit, just 1 non-compliance, and said that is enough for you to cancel votes or to deduct votes. I don't think that's something that they are built, honestly, because if you say out of 6 processes, that one singular action, the first one, vote actually was held, votes were written, we are counted, we are announced, only for recording, and that is substantial enough for you to cancel. I don't see that holding at the Appellate Court, honestly speaking. And those who are debating will not just debate because the Appellate Court definitely will trust this case, honestly.
All right, then. Oh, thank you very much for calling. I don't know. Apart from the governor, Governor Yetola in Oshun, I don't believe that we've heard from the APC, from the ruling party yet. But they will. I think they scheduled a meeting for today somewhere, the NWC. That's where they probably want to just, come together and have a voice on it. But most people seem to just take for granted the fact that it will go to appeal. And I suppose that's the essence of it. And I believe that Governor Yetola has already spoken that, although paraphrasing or borrowing the words of former President Obasanjo, his attitude seems to be one of no shaking. no shaking.
Well, APC actually spoke. Yeah, they said no shaking, and they said, the judgment to them would not stand, and that they're going to the appeal court.
Okay.
Yeah, they spoke. They spoke. Probably they will still have a meeting to then.
I'm looking for a situation where Chairman Oshiomhole will come and do one of those world press conferences, the type he did with at the conclusion of the election, the presidential election, in that place, and subsequently.
I think the chairman of Oshun chapter did.
He has spoken, yes.
Honestly, my view about the conduct of the 2 political parties this year is to commend them. Commend them in the sense that PDP felt aggrieved, they went to the tribunal. That's fine. That is the gentlemanly way to run things. APC is aggrieved by the decision of the tribunal now. We have not heard of riots in Oshun. We have not heard of that law has broken down, that order has been compromised in that state. No. So I think both parties deserve commendation. This is the standard of conduct expected in civilized societies.
In fact, Governor Yetola has appealed for calm.
I think
as he went about his regular duties.
That is fantastic.
So that's the way it should be.
It's a plus to our democracy, and we hope to see more. Yes.
Indeed. Steve in Sokoto, good morning.
Good morning, please.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I want to ask the man with the dissenting judgment.
You mean the justice? The justice? The chairman of the tribunal?
With the other 2 judgments, in order to compare.
Okay.
In order to compare, educating us from the other dissenting judgment. It will have come from the other 2 judgments.
No.
In order to
educate us also.
Please, I want you people who are enlightened to educate our politicians. What is happening in our elections is very, very wrong. Bad before man, and before God. Educate Nigerian politicians to do things aright. That's what I want to say, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much for calling in, and it's an interesting comment that you make. We already know the decision of the tribunal, which is that the his petition was granted, that I should be the governor. But there was one dissenting judgment out of three. So
I even have
the other one is available, but the program will be too big. We'll need too much time. But maybe let's just know the man has won. PDP has won at the tribunal. But there's one man who is dissenting, and he just by chance he happens to be the chairman, which is not relevant here. But so that's the one that we're looking at. But what do you need? For the other side, there's no need to talk too much. He won. And as you've just said, both of them are taking it as statesmen. Both parties are conducting themselves responsibly.
They are.
You know, nobody is inciting anybody. If any,
nobody's inciting anybody.
Nobody's inciting anybody.
And I think that's decent. Both parties deserve commendation.
Yes, and by the
submit yourself to.
By the way, President Obasanjo, former President Obasanjo, he weighed in on the matter. He weighed in on the matter. Well, President Obasanjo, it would appear. Bati President Buhari at all. Whatever, put that into English, So it was expected that he would come up with something, and he didn't disappoint. But he's even said, former President Obasanjo has even said that it is the election, the way the judgment has gone, that has saved us from embarrassment, I think, in Nigeria or something like that.
No, I think what he was basically saying, don't forget, he first said that, since the election, he has not said anything and all that. And on this one, what he basically said is a welcome development, and that he saved us because they went to court rather than causing chaos or anarchy in the state. Yes, that was his
good clarification.
Yes,
and he also, while he was at it, he was also clarifying that he can't identify if those people are appealing to
not to go to court.
Not to go to court.
It's a plus to democracy.
He said those ones. He said those ones are enemies
of Nigeria.
Of Nigeria. Whoever is advocating that Alhaji Atiku should not go to court.
Well, I think on that, I'm with him. Anyone that wants to go to court should go to court and seek redress rather than causing chaos and anarchy in the society.
Pastor Elijah in Ikorodu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Go ahead, please.
Let me say good morning to the two gentlemen in the house.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Well, good morning, Pastor.
It's a pleasant speaking to you for the very first time. I've been trying to get you online all through this years of your program.
We're so delighted.
And I love it.
We're delighted you could get through.
Good morning to the two gentlemen in the house.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pastor Elijah.
Pastor, did you hear? There have been responses.
Yeah, okay.
Please go ahead with your comment now.
Okay. With the judgment in Osun State, my major concern when it comes to judiciary decision has always been that the judges has always been different. It seems most times that the real issues are being abandoned. How can a man that rose to the level of a judge come?
Well, it's hard to imagine where you were going, just where you got to. Pastor Elijah, it happens now and again. I guess that one's going to have to be up in the air. We don't know how he would have come down. But it's interesting, as we're coming to the end now, we're sort of in the home stretch, but this is the first time people have had an opportunity to add their voice as Nigerians, and I knew that we all knew that there were going to be so many people that had one thing or the other to say about this, but what we can say is that for the moment, the parties are conducting themselves admirably. They disagree entirely. There is no area of agreement apart from that which the tribunal itself has agreed for them. All of those ones right up until the dissenting one. So I imagine that's the only thing that is in dissension, and that shall be sorted out. But maybe just spend a few moments, if you would, on the way the elections panned out over the weekend. looking at, I was joking at the beginning of the program of the score being 3-2, that kind of a thing. That is to say, you had PDP winning 3 and APC winning 2. But I doubt it. Maybe we won't even have time for that because Comrade Tokwe has just called in, and I imagine he wants to talk on the Osun case. Good morning, Comrade Tokwe.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling, sir.
And I want to say hello to the lawyers in the house this morning.
Good morning, Tokwe.
Yeah. I think it is not yet time for people to dance or rejoice in Osun State, because this is really going to get to the Supreme Court. But my worries...
It might stop at the appeal court.
But my worries have to do with the judiciary.
Okay.
You see, the panelists this morning, they are on one side. Tomorrow, if you bring another lawyers, they will be on the other side. And you see, the judiciary is the last hope of the ordinary man.
Yeah.
But it's gradually turning it's not putting even the ordinary man to a confused state.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see, in Osun now, whatever is decided at the Supreme Court will have either add value or reduce value to the supplementary election being conducted now. So my worries is really, like, for me, I'm an accountant. When you ask me to prepare a balance sheet, everybody knows the process. But when you talk of judiciary or law as a person, they sit at the other side, the other people sit at the other side. So the judiciary is putting us in a confused state.
All right.
Because ordinarily when there's a judgment, there shouldn't be here or there as to issues. So let us get to the Supreme Court and see what people will say. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thank you very much for calling in. When I said it could start at it could stop at the appellate level, you shook your head, and that's simply because, look, it doesn't matter who wins. Let's go to the next step. So that's probably why
it's 1-0. It's 3 games.
It's 3
games. So we're still going to the other 2.
And about dissenting judgments, there's nothing strange about it. In fact, there are some judgments that are more popular for the dissenting views of those who dissented from the majority. There's nothing telling us that even when you get to Supreme Court, you will not find dissenting judgments.
Indeed.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
That's why it's never one.
So even up to Supreme Court, you can have judges dissenting.
And then in relation to something else that Comrade Ayo had said when he was speaking, he was talking about one side now, then the other side subsequently. We just concentrated on the dissenting judgment because that was really the news. The first news was that PDP won. That's the first news. Find out the news. That's the base, ground zero. PDP won that particular, case. Now, there was a dissension. And that's the one that we should understand. Yeah. So you just need to understand why was one man disagreeing with the panel, with the panel of inquiry. That's all. So it's not so much, sir, a matter of one side or the other side. It's just no matter the side, they're going to be looking, okay, yes, there were instances where you, sir, had said that, and by the way, I agree entirely. Maybe that's the kind of thing. But you were basing it on what you have seen here.
I've read
so
the 2 parts,
we just simply aired the dissenting judgment.
Yes.
It's a total different thing if you look at the majority judgment.
Yes.
The majority judgment, and really that one is the judgment of that. Is now we're talking about majority and minority.
In 2007, there was the dissenting judgment by even Justice Onogen. If you remember.
And Justice Oguntade.
I believe Tunji in Ikoyi is on the line. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uyori. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, because it appears seriously that only the view of the dissenting judge is being highlighted. Now, one can see this as a narrative only to support the APC point of view. It would have been best if there was a lawyer, one representing the APC view and one representing the PDP view. Because if you see this now, it will be like an agenda-setting transmission, only to justify the APC position. And Okuyori, we need a balanced view because there is a tremendous population in Osun that is very happy looking for the commencement of that election that PDP actually won ab initio. So for getting to this point, there should be somebody on their side. That is a balanced view. This, to me, is agenda setting in preparation for the appeal. It's not fair on the other side. And you have easily said Oyetola as governor. It doesn't matter until the legal proceedings is concluded. But the truth of the matter is, you should have gotten a PDP view supporter or a lawyer that supports the majority view expressing this to the whole Nigeria.
Okay.
So that is my point.
I want to thank you very much for making the point, and I want to assure you there's no part of that submission that I take lightly. But my thinking was that the winner doesn't need a supporter. We started off by saying a PDP has won. This is the state. We're looking at things in time. PDP has won. That's the declaration that has come out. Why do you need a supporter? But we take seriously whatever you contribute, and there's a sense in which we will take this seriously as well. But maybe you'll understand where we might have been in error a bit. We'd consider that the winner didn't really need a supporter, and we're not talking of support here. We're looking at the difference. The substance out there is that PDP has won. What is the difference? There's a slight difference, a dissension. Let's hear that dissension. But it doesn't overrule the fact that the PDP has won. So thank you very much for calling in, and I want you to know that we take it quite seriously. Agenda setting, who are we? How can we set agenda? The judges, in fact, in America, I believe they sequester them off so that they can't see what's going on in current affairs. But which judge is going to be, swayed by TV programs and people just shooting the breeze?
Well, I believe that the judgment is all over the place now.
It is.
With a simple click of...
I got to round off. I was enjoying myself far too much, so I've got to really rush you guys by saying, Mr. Tomiloba Olaguju, thank you very much for coming on. And Mr. Olayinka Daniel, thank you very much for coming on. And we'll see how this goes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your perspectives. That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.